There was a time when automobiles were not merely transportation. They were rolling living rooms, public art gliding down the boulevard, and the boldest declarations ever made by Detroit. Close your eyes for a moment and hear the solid click of a door shutting tight. The scent of new vinyl blending with the lingering trace of gasoline in the air. Welcome to the 1950s, an era when every coupe did not simply carry passengers, but carried the faith of post-war America. Strong, prosperous, and filled with ambition. Opening the show is the Oldsmobile 98 Holiday Coupe. The concept of the pillarless hardtop had actually begun to emerge in 1949, but it was not until the early 1950s that it truly exploded. Removing the B-pillar created a mesmerizing illusion. A hard-top coupe that, when all the windows were rolled down, opened up seamlessly like a convertible. No steel frame dividing the view, only sky and horizon stretching wide through the expansive window openings. It was not merely a change in design, but a change in emotion behind the wheel. The Oldsmobile 98 Holiday Coupe carried within it a rare balance between music bulk and grace, substantial yet never clumsy. The body was long and solid, set on a wheelbase of over 122 inches. Yet the roofline sat low and refined. A straight chrome spear stretched from the front wheel arch all the way to the rear, like the decisive stroke of a confident artist's brush. And pastel tones such as lotus cream or cove green reflected the late afternoon sunlight, giving the car a presence that felt both luxurious and soft. As if steel itself had been infused with a touch of poetry, the American market responded not only with praise, but with signed checks. In 1953, 27,920 Holiday Coupe were sold, a number strong enough to keep Oldsmobile firmly positioned in the top 7 of the national sales race. Next came the 1955 Chrysler C300. Originally, and the C300 was not born to become a boulevard icon. It was created to homologate and to qualify for NASCAR and the AAA racing series. Chrysler needed a production car eligible to bring its technology music into the battle for speed. The result was a limited run of only about 1,700 to 1,725 units built. That modest number makes every surviving C300 today feel like a backstage pass to the golden era of American performance. But what made the C300 legendary was not rarity alone, as beneath its long, heavy hood lay a 331 cubic inch firepower Hemi 8, producing 300 horsepower. The first time in American history that a production engine reached that milestone. In 1955, the number 300 was not merely a technical specification. It was a declaration of war. At high speed on the Daytona test track, the C300 could approach nearly 130 miles per hour, a figure that made many hold their breath. But the paradox lay here. Its exterior was anything but flamboyant. D-designer Virgil Exner followed the forward-look philosophy, restrained, streamlined, stripping away excess chrome. The grille was clean, the body surfaces uncluttered, even the side mirrors were emitted to optimize aerodynamics. That was the seductive contrast. A gentleman in a black tuxedo, composed and unshaken outside an elegant restaurant. Yet beneath the fabric beat the heart of a heavyweight prize fighter. In the parking lots of the 1950s, and while Cadillac was still flaunting towering tail fins and glittering chrome, the C300 stood there like a man who knew he was powerful enough that he did not need to boast. But not every story of 1955 revolved around pure horsepower. In South Bend, Music, Indiana, Studebaker chose a different path, as bold as a pop art painting hanging inside a conservative museum. The President's Speedster began as only a handful of show cars meant to test public reaction, when no one expected the audience to respond with such frenzy. By mid-year, the company was forced to put it into official production with a price tag of over $3,000, hardly an easy number at the time. In terms of power, it did not enter the muscle war. Its 259 in V8 produced about 185 horsepower, adequate but not built to break records. Instead, the Speedster seduced through the design language of Raymond Loewy, who infused it with the spirit of high fashion. And the stainless roof band running across the top created a visual effect like a polished metal helmet. But what truly made people unable to look away was the paint. Lemon lime, a vibrant blend of Himalaya green and Sun Valley yellow, glowing under the sun, or the unusual shades of pink and gray, as if Detroit had just stepped into a contemporary art gallery. This was not a car built for a NASCAR driver, or this was a coupe for the man who wanted to stand apart when he pulled up in front of the movie theater on a Saturday night. It declared that style could be just as powerful as horsepower. After the pop art colors of Studebaker and the cold-blooded muscle of the Chrysler C300 1956 seemed determined to prove that Detroit could combine both power and flamboyance, but in a more refined, more mature way. And that was when the DeSoto Adventurer appeared. The car captured light in its own distinct way. Yet the gold details, gold anodized wheel covers shimmering under the sun, the metallic adventurous scripts stretching along the body, reflected the late afternoon glow without ever appearing gaudy. With a 126-inch wheelbase, the body extended like an arrow drawn tight on a bowring. The rooflines swept low, the rear clean yet decisive, suggesting a sense of aerodynamics at a time when the concept was still new to mainstream design. The Adventurer did not need oversized tail fins or heavy chrome to command attention. It shined through perfect proportions and purposeful detail. But do not let that elegant exterior deceive you. Beneath the hood lay a 341 cubic inch Hemi 58, producing 320 horsepower, a figure that commanded respect from any speed enthusiast in 1956. It was one of the most powerful machines of its time. Yet only 996 units were built. That rarity made the Adventurer feel like a whisper in a noisy crowd. Those who understood, understood. Next came the Lincoln Premier Coupe. Its first sexy statement lay in the massive wraparound windshield, the largest in the industry at the time. The curved glass embraced the entire cockpit, inspired by bold concept cars such as the Lincoln Futura, making the driver feel as though he were piloting a machine from the future. Light fluttered the cabin. The dashboard stretched wide before him, and the horizon seemed to draw closer through that sweeping arc of glass. But Lincoln understood that seduction did not come from technology alone. Customers could choose from 20 solid paint colors and 30 two-tone combinations, pink over cream parked in front of a newly built suburban home, or turquoise and white gliding quietly through a peaceful neighborhood. Each Premier Coupe was a personal declaration of success. The market responded with 19,600 units sold that year. The Lincoln Premier Coupe quickly became a status symbol in affluent American suburbs, where men who had returned from war were now building new lives, new homes, and choosing a coupe worthy of their achievements. During this same period, we cannot overlook the Packard Caribbean hardtop. Only 263 units were built. That number was painfully small for a name that had once stood as the ultimate symbol of American luxury before the war. Designer music Dick Teague gave it cathedral taillights, an upright rear lamp housings that evoked the stained glass windows of an old cathedral. When the red taillights glowed at dusk, the car seemed to be praying for its own future. The body wore bold tritone paint, chrome running along the flanks, every detail executed with almost obsessive care. Beneath the hood, there was no sign of weakness. The 374 cubic inches in V8 produced 310 horsepower and 405 pound-feet of torque. Enough power to propel that heavy mass of steel forward with commanding force. The Caribbean did not die for lack of strength, but because of changing times and flawed business decisions. Moving into 1957, we have the Continental M2. Ford did not create the M2 to compete directly with Cadillac or Chrysler. They positioned it as an equal rival to Rolls-Royce and Bentley, a bold declaration that America could craft world-class luxury on its own terms. With a price of nearly $10,000 in 1957, more expensive than a middle-class suburban home, and the Continental was not built for the masses. It was built for those who did not need to prove they had already succeeded. The market responded coldly. Only 444 units were sold in 1957. But sometimes modest numbers conceal a philosophy ahead of its time. Designer John Reinhardt pursued a modern formal approach, restraint taken almost to its absolute limit. There was virtually no excess chrome. The body surfaces were flat, the lines straight and precise as if drawn with a steel ruler. Now all attention was focused on the perfect stance. A long wheelbase, wheels positioned with balance inside their arches, creating a posture that felt solid and dignified even at a standstill. At the rear, the trunk design with its signature spare tire hump, a subtle protrusion recalling the externally mounted spare of pre-war Continentals, became an understated mark of identity. Not flamboyant, just a detail refined enough for the trained eye to recognize from a distance. And the M2 was beautiful, in a timeless way. While Detroit chased neon lights and roaring horsepower, the Continental M2 chose silence. And it was precisely that silence that defined the highest form of power. In 1959, Cadillac was no longer searching for balance or restraint. They created a coupe, born to dominate attention from the very first glance. The Cadillac Eldorado Seville, the boldest icon of the tail fin and blazing chrome era, at its 130-inch wheelbase made the body stretch out like an aircraft taxiing down a runway. Priced at $7,401, it stood firmly in the realm of luxury, and with only 975 units produced, rare enough that every appearance felt like an event. Beneath that massive sheet, metal rested a 390 cubic inch V8, delivering 345 horsepower, a figure worthy of its size and ambition. But the Eldorado Seville was not merely about power. It was a mobile sculpture, a futuristic work of art rolling down American boulevards, and its razor-sharp tail fins rose defiantly as if they intended to slice through the sky itself. The twin rocket tail lights glowed red like jet engines, reflecting the late 1950s dream of conquering space. Up front, the triple-tiered grille stacked like a piece of extravagant jewelry, shimmering beneath the city lights. The slim roof pillars created a floating roof effect, making the cabin appear to hover above the long, a wide body as it rolled down newly opened boulevards with rock and roll pouring from the radio. The Eldorado Seville was more than transportation. It was America at full emotional throttle. A moment when confidence, ambition, and exhilaration were forged into steel, chrome, and the thunder of a V8. As the 1950s came to a close, the shark-like tail fins gave way to the squarer, more muscular designs of the 1960s. And yet these hard-top coupes remain an irreplaceable symbol of American car culture, where engineering fully served aesthetic desire. In your opinion, was the minimalist philosophy of the Continental M2 or the wild extravagance of the 1959 Cadillac Eldorado the true pinnacle? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next video. See you next time.